I think that directly leads us to a second truth here that we all need to be aware of, that I think that day, that specific day at that time, it became quite clear to his disciples, to Peter, to Andrew, to James, and to John. And it's critical for us as followers of Jesus here in 2022. Not only do, we see the unconditional nature of God's love, but we also see this perfect example to follow in Christ. That if Jesus went to Matthew's house, then I must go to Matthew's house too. Like, we got to understand that if Jesus went there, then I got to go there too. If Jesus was willing to break all these social taboos to reach the lost and to reach those in need, if Jesus was willing to go where no one else would go, if Jesus was willing to identify with the hated and with the despised and with the outcasts, if Jesus was willing to leverage a table as a tool or as this, extension of heaven, this extension of evangelism to share God's love with people completely opposite than him, with completely opposing views socially and politically and morally and spiritually, then I got to do the same. Like, if I follow Jesus, I got to go. And I got to be the one. We got to be the ones to love the Matthews of the world. And listen, Jesus not only just shows us that, he commands it in many ways. He reinforces the greatest commandments: to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love your neighbor as yourself. Like, whoever your neighbor may be, whoever God has placed in your path may be, to love your neighbor as yourself. He says in the new command to love each other as I have first loved you. In the Beatitudes, he tells us to love our enemy. To love those who oppose us, to love those who hurt us, to love those, we've been taught to hate and to despise, and to pray for those who persecute you. And I got to tell you, man, this is so convicting to me, because it's so easy to steer clear of Matthew's house. It's so easy for us to avoid people who we don't like, who hurt us in a way, or who just act differently than we do. It's so easy for us to close the door on uncomfortable relationships. It's so easy for us to stay close to home and, close to our comfort zones, but that's not what we see from Jesus, friends. Jesus is leading us out. Jesus is telling us to go. Jesus is telling us to pull up a seat, pull up a chair at Matthew's house. I love how John tells us, and he kind of just wraps it all up for us in 1 John chapter 4, verse 7. He says, look, dear friends, let us continue to love one another, for love comes from God. Anyone who loves is a child of God and knows God. But anyone who does not love does not know God, for God is love. There's nobody that exists outside the love of God. And if Jesus is going to go there, then he's calling me there too.